guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nokuhle and today's video is all about how to find your first or next apartment. Thank you so much to YouthX by Nedbank who have sponsored this video. I'll talk to you a bit more about them and how their FinEd resources can help you when you're making big adult decisions like finding an apartment. But just to kickstart this video, let's start off with two questions. It's a bit of a quiz if you want. Let me know in the comments if you knew this or didn't. Number one, did you know that your credit score can impact the type of apartments you get approved for? And secondly, did you know that your landlord or rental agency is meant to keep your deposit in an interest-bearing account, and at the end of your lease, they are meant to give you back your deposit plus interest? Well, if you didn't know any of those, do let me know in the comments. And if you did know, also let me know in the comments because I do want to see where we are at as a community. Thank you so much once again for tuning in. I hope you guys will enjoy this video because I have enjoyed compiling it. Alright, cool. Let me get into the content.
My name is Nokuhle and I'm a personal finance creator. Some of the videos I've made include how to buy shares, top 10 affordable cars, how to file your taxes, side hustles, interviews, you name it, I've done it. Note, these videos do not constitute financial advice. My aim is to plant the idea, it's up to you to water it.
So when you're planning, there are 7 things that I want to say you need to make sure you've got covered. Number one, a budget. Before you even start looking for apartments, you need to understand how much you can actually reasonably afford, and this will also help you determine whether you can live alone or if you need to find someone to share with. Obviously, everyone's dream is to live in their own apartments and have a very cute apartment, blah, blah, blah. However, sometimes it is not realistic, especially in your first year of work. Remember, not only are you going to be paying for your rent, you also need to furnish this place, buy a new wardrobe for work. So it might be worthwhile considering sharing. However, you will make this decision by yourself. Rental agencies usually make a rule of thumb to say for you to afford an apartment, just like a pre-screening, you have to be making 3 times the rental amount. So whatever you're looking at, just times it by 3 and see if you have that in as your gross income, or just take your gross income divided by 3 and then you'll see what you need to set your filters on. So earlier I mentioned that your credit score can actually determine whether you get approved for a certain apartment or not. I do want to expand a bit on that and tell you that it's not all rental agencies that actually do this. So I know the first apartments I ever lived in Johannesburg did not do credit screening, and I could tell because there was such a high default rate in people who were paying rent. I remember we get like lengthy emails every single month. It'd be like, hi guys, please note the following tenants or the following units have not paid rent in the last 3 months. And it would be so many units. It was so embarrassing, but like not for me because I paid, okay? But it was just embarrassing because sometimes I'd look at my neighbors and be like, why don't you pay? But I don't think I should be worried about you guys because the fact that you're on this channel tells me that you guys are already thinking ahead and you are people who are financially responsible. Because guys, the last thing you want is your rent to be impacting your credit score, because it does, okay? It can and it will, and it's not worth it. It takes forever for it to get cleared. But let me tell you a bit more about credit scores. So I have done a very lengthy video on it. I'm going to link it here and also leave it in the description box where I went into a bit of detail about it. But just so you know,
a credit score is a number that represents how trustworthy you are as a borrower, and this number ranges from 300 all the way to 850. However, sometimes it goes all the way to 999.
but different credit bureaus have different numbers, so you might see that your credit score on Experian versus Clear Score versus something else is always different. That's just because they use different ratings. But what's important is understanding the segment you're in. There is the poor, below average, average, good, and great. And you want to be in the great section. If you are in the great segment, it means you are someone who understands debt and you pay on time all the time, and banks are actually willing to finance you because they know that you are a trustworthy person. Okay, some people don't really understand what credit scores are, and there's a whole lot of myths and misconceptions around them. But what I want you guys to think of it is, it's as if it's like a report card that all banks, insurance companies, and other financial institutions use when they are determining whether to give you financing or not. Okay, I know in the past or in like movies they'll tell you have a great relationship with your banker, that way when you want a loan they can give it to you easily. The truth is there are so many people in South Africa and actually in the world as a whole, so there's no way that every banker will have a very personal and deep relationship with everyone. So what they use is this score to determine firstly whether they give you the loan or not, and secondly at what rate you get it. So it's really important that you do teach yourself about this. However, I have left so many resources by YouthX by Nedbank. So they've got some things like the unlock.me website, which has information on what a credit score is and how you can build it. I've also linked the Nedbank credit scoring tool, which allows you to check your credit score frequently as a way of monitoring it. And then lastly, I've also linked some Nedbank articles where they talk about what causes a drop in your credit score, how you can build it, and all of that. And honestly guys, Nedbank is a bank, so who better to learn from than them, because they are the ones who actually use it. So make sure you do check it out. And let's continue with this video. Number 2, identifying an ideal location. So when you are looking for an apartment, you need to make sure that you are finding a place that you can reasonably and safely live. So if you have never lived eLokishini, you are probably not going to be able to rent eLokishini. Don't try start new things that you're not used to. Also, you need to figure out where you are going to be spending most of your days and try get as close as possible. So if you are working in Midrand or you are working in Woodmead, you want to get as close to that place as possible so that you're not spending too much time driving or commuting. However, if you don't mind commuting, then that's okay. Just factor it in. And I'm going to move into number 3, which is actually transport. When you are finding your apartment, ask yourself, how are you getting to and from wherever you're going? If you're going to work and you drive, okay, cool. You have a car, that's great. How long is the commute? Okay, sometimes it's like 10 kilometers away, but when there's traffic, it might take you 40 minutes. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. However, if you are going to be relying on public transport, ask yourself, are you close to the Gau train or any train or a bus or a Ria Vaya? Whatever transport system you're planning on using, see how close you are and whether it's a walking distance. Remember, you shouldn't be staying in a place which is going to cause you so much inconvenience when you want to get to work, because you're going to be upset every single morning. Every single morning you wake up, you're going to know you're late already, you have to walk, you're going to get rained on. And I know sometimes people are planning on buying a car later on, but they're probably going to rely on public transport for the first few months. That's okay. Just also do that Uber estimate so you understand so that you can budget for it. Because if you can't afford to get to work, what are you going to do? Pro tip that I wish I considered: when you do live in a place where there's a lot of traffic like Johannesburg, try live in an area which is close to the freeway. That way you can on-ramp quicker, because most of the traffic is you trying to get to the freeway. Once you're on the freeway, it's very smooth sailing, so do with that what you will. Number 4, when you get on Property24 or Private Property or any of these other apps, make sure you learn how to filter. Okay, so firstly, filter from lowest price to highest. You don't want to be selling yourself dreams and seeing all these expensive places that you can't afford, and now you're depressed because there's no way you can afford it, but now you've seen what's actually available. Secondly, have a look at the map. So zoom out and see where this area actually is and what are the neighboring areas. You might find a really great place, but the neighboring areas might not be the safest, and now you have an issue every time you have to drive in or out when it's super early or super late. Once you found the place on Property24, obviously try and view all the pictures. If there's a 3D tour, make sure you're using it, but also try to figure out what the estate is. So I'm assuming a lot of you are going to be renting in estates. Try to figure out the name of the estate. It might be listed in the actual detail, or it might be in one of the pictures. Then what I want you to do is go on Google and search that estate so you can see the Google reviews. So some people who visit these areas drop a very great comments, and I love them. So they'll comment on security, on cleanliness, on noise levels, parking. These are all things you want to know that obviously the person who's listing it on Property24 is not going to mention. So have a read at those comments. Try filter from newest, but actually I would say just read all of them. You literally have time. Do not make a rush decision. Read every everything, whether people are singing praises or complaining, you want to know. And then secondly, take it a further step and go search that estate on Twitter, because not everyone will come and write a review on Google. Instead, people will go off on Twitter. So make sure you are searching the estate and kind of seeing what people are saying. This will really help you in determining if this is a place that you believe you can stay at. If you're someone who doesn't like a lot of noise, maybe that's not going to work for you. However, if you are someone who is trying to find friends, you do like the occasional groove, maybe this might be great for you, because you can just go groove down the street. So yeah, do that. Number 5, deciding whether you're getting a furnished apartment or an unfurnished apartment. So it depends on how long you plan on staying. When you've just started your job, chances are you have so many expenses to cover. You need to get your new wardrobe, you might need to drive to your new city. There's so much that you're trying to do, so you might not be able to buy all the furniture you need when you move in. So maybe a furnished apartment will work. So most places will give you a fridge, a washing machine, and sometimes a bed. However, furnished apartments are usually a bit more expensive, because obviously you're renting the apartment as well as the furniture, so you need to make a calculated decision. If you're only renting for a year, maybe you can do it, but if you're going to be renting for more than 3 years, I honestly do not think that renting a furnished apartment is worth it. This is because the premium you pay, let's just say you're paying 1,500 extra for a furnished apartment. Fine, doesn't seem like a lot at first, but 1,500 over 3 years ends up being 54,000, and 54,000 could have bought you so much more furniture that you actually have to your name had you lived in an unfurnished apartment. So when you are making this decision, ask yourself how long you're going to be staying. Also, is there an option for you to actually not rent out those things once you've bought for yourself? Number 6, groceries and food. So when you are picking your place, make sure it is near a shopping center or a mall, just that you can buy groceries easily and it's not like a whole mission where you have to drive or Uber a long trip just to do your weekly groceries. I also would say try and put the address on Uber Eats and see the places that are available. I know this seems childish, but I remember in my estate I could only access like really expensive restaurants, and so Uber Eating wasn't really a thing I could do because there was no McDonald's nearby, there was no KFC nearby, so it was like, okay, basically I don't Uber Eats. So do put it in your app and see if you like the restaurants that are popping up, just because when you are working there will be those nights where you're too stressed or you're working too hard and you can't cook. Make sure you are able to get an alternative quickly. And then lastly, don't get distracted by the extra things. There are certain things that estates will offer you, like a pool and a park and a gym and a restaurant, and this is really nice, I won't lie. I liked it, but this should not be your reason for signing. This should not be the main selling point. This should be like an extra thing, because chances are you might not even have time to swim in that pool. You might swim once a year. It's not worth paying all of that if you only use it once. Gym, yes, the gym is great, but it gets overcrowded, so you might end up not even using that gym. Remember, obviously people are different, so if you have children, you also need to factor this in. Is this a child-friendly place? Are there schools nearby? And all of that, so do keep it in mind.
If you would like to see more, make sure you check out the Get Ready With Me Work Edition book, available on www.lomaku.co.za. Link in description box. This book covers finding your apartment, how to buy a car, job tips, wardrobe essentials, goal-setting templates, and more. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time where we cover viewings and signing the lease.